Turn-Taking Interventions by Ashley Connor, Ella Dutton, Samantha Frayne, Caroline Harbison, Hannah McCampbell, and Kelsey Stieglin. Ball State University, SPCE 610, 10/16/2019. Introduction. Turn-taking skills can be difficult for children to comprehend and demonstrate, especially when there are deficits in the setting such as functional communication, cognitive, and receptive delays. Turn-taking interventions can be implemented to help facilitate appropriate turn-taking behaviors that can be generalized in school and at home. In addition, communication, waiting, and sharing skills can be promoted through the implementation of turn-taking interventions.
So I'm just going to be listing a few examples of turn-taking interventions. Some of these I've used myself, and then there are others that I haven't used. You can do turn-taking using games. They have to be, back and forth type games with very simple directions if needed for that child. It has clear expectations, so it's easy for them to know, when it's their turn versus if you were taking turns on a trampoline, it's going to be harder for them to understand, when it's actually going to be their turn. They come in all different levels, so, ages, and also you can pick games that maybe has a certain character that they like or something just to make it more positive. You can also use visual supports for games, so you could use kind of like we did in our own intervention. Green means it's your turn, red means it's someone else's turn, things like that. Turn-taking projects, so this was kind of new. I had never heard of that before. Basically, the example that I saw used Legos or Duplos, and then they had a visual of what the structure was that they needed to build. So each kid had a different color that they were responsible for. So in order to keep building the structure, they needed to match the color because they were making it based on the photo. So that one was kind of cool, and also pretty clear expectations. If they don't have access to the purple block and they need the purple block, giving the other person a turn makes sense. So it would be the same thing if they had the blue blocks, letting them know it's their turn. And also it was good teamwork. The next one I saw was structured sharing. So this is a great way to work on turn-taking in the classroom. It might be more beneficial for some of our higher functioning kiddos. So if each kid brings in, maybe their favorite toy or their favorite item, and then they can talk about it and then have to pass it around to show all of their friends their toy. It's kind of like show and tell, but then, they're having to practice handing it off. And, that can be hard if it's a very highly preferred item. And then the last one is kind of a more naturalistic approach, which is conversational turn-taking. This is kind of one of the ultimate goals of why we work on turn-taking. So basically, if you're eating dinner with your family, taking turns sharing something with the family, you can use visuals for that as well. You can pass them to each family member to let them know, hey, your turn's over. So this one might be a little bit harder to do with someone who is lower functioning, but I thought it was a good way to naturalistically approach that. When I first learned about turn-taking in general, I just thought, you play a board game, and that's, teach them how to share their toys and whatever. But actually, turn-taking is a huge aspect of social communication, which ties into their lives in everything that they do. So understanding your role in a conversation allows you to know, okay, are you the speaker or are you the listener? In order to follow directions or even give directions, you have to understand that concept. If you're not able to do that, building relationships and friendships can be really hard. So using turn-taking interventions can help increase the likelihood that someone is able to do that. Ultimately, it is to help effectively communicate in conversations. If you need a job or if you're going for a job interview, you're going to have to be able to effectively communicate. And especially those roles, whether or not they're the speaker or the listener, is going to be even that much more important.
Who can benefit from turn-taking interventions? There is not one target population that may benefit from a turn-taking intervention, but actually multiple. Some populations that may benefit include early intervention children, children with limited communication skills, children learning to share or improve social sharing skills, individuals needing improvement in attention skills, and individuals learning to wait. And these are just a few of the many options that there are. How turn-taking interventions can be used. Turn-taking interventions can be used in multiple different ways. They can be used to improve a multitude of skills, including transitioning, waiting, social skills, and alleviating unwanted behaviors. Transitioning is learned through turn-taking because through learning when time is up and how to give up a desired activity or toy, transitioning becomes simpler. Social skills and waiting are also a side effect of learning to take turns because the child is learning when it is appropriate to take or give up a turn with peers. And unwanted behaviors minimize because replacement behaviors are learned through the process of turn-taking interventions.
There are many steps to implement turn-taking interventions. First, children and staff should report to a designated turn-taking/play area. Children should choose a preferred toy. Staff member provides support as needed. Staff member then has the iPad and turn-taking PowerPoint ready to start. The member should verbally tell the children that the turn-taking program has begun. Staff member presses play on PowerPoint. The iPad can be seen and heard by both children at all times. Children number 1 plays with preferred item or toy. When the PowerPoint changes to the next slide, child 1 gives the toy to child 2. The staff member uses least to most prompting as needed. Child number 2 plays with the preferred toy. Child number 1 and 2 play with preferred toy back and forth until the end of the turn-taking PowerPoint. Staff uses verbal praise for appropriate turn-taking behaviors, and children and staff put away the toy. Children and staff leave the designated play area. The materials needed for implementation are a designated play area, preferred toys or games, an iPad or other technology device compatible with PowerPoint, such as a tablet, PowerPoint turn-taking presentation, an adult facilitator readily available for implementation and prompting, and a task analysis of what we just reviewed.
Turn-taking interventions can help with transitions. Children with autism spectrum disorder have difficulty with transitions and turn-taking. Turn-taking interventions provide visual aids to support children with autism spectrum disorder when transitioning. Turn-taking interventions include visual aids that provide examples of appropriate behaviors during transitioning. Turn-taking interventions help to decrease latency between transitions. Turn-taking interventions provide a step-by-step process so the child will know what to expect next, which will also help with transitions. Turn-taking interventions can help children wait. Because of deficits in socialization, children with autism spectrum disorder have difficulty with appropriate turn-taking skills and waiting their turn. Turn-taking interventions provide visual supports that support the child to demonstrate appropriate play skills. For example, waiting their turn with his or her peers. Turn-taking interventions also provide scripts that support the child when waiting and taking turns appropriately when playing with his or her peers. An example of this would be your turn or Johnny's turn. Turn-taking interventions help with social skills. Turn-taking interventions teach back and forth reciprocal structure, which is also known as social skills, which is framework for early learning. Turn-taking interventions are associated with social acceptance at an early age. Peer play and social skills are an important part of child development. Teaching peer play and turn-taking helps to support the child develop socially. Turn-taking schedules can promote appropriate play. Turn-taking interventions help with maladaptive behaviors. Turn-taking interventions are used as an antecedent intervention. This means modifications are made prior to the maladaptive behaviors. This prevents such behaviors from occurring. Turn-taking interventions identify the reinforcer, which in this case could be a preferred toy or game, before turn-taking begins. This also helps to eliminate the maladaptive behaviors through positive reinforcement. For example, if the child displays appropriate turn-taking behaviors, the child will be reinforced with the preferred toy or game. Turn-taking interventions supports positive behaviors and pro-social behaviors and decreases maladaptive behaviors.
How to generalize independent play / turn-taking. Turn-taking can be generalized across multiple settings and participants. The prompt of the iPad will be faded from most to least on the prompt hierarchy. The child will gain the ability to share with peers without having a visual aid. A goal for generalizing independent play / turn-taking is to independently share with others and appropriately share with peers. This can include a verbal prompt from the peer, such as "my turn."
In conclusion, turn-taking interventions can promote social skills, functional communication, and appropriate play in children who are verbal and nonverbal. It can also decrease maladaptive behaviors and increase appropriate behaviors. These interventions can include various materials such as iPads, visual supports, and social scripts. Turn-taking and independent play can be generalized across settings and peers.